Good morning, welcome to CATEX-TV. My name is Frank Fortunato. This is a live broadcast from Princeton, New Jersey. Today is Monday, June 14th, 2010. It's 11:30 a.m. Eastern Daylight Time in the U.S., 4:30 p.m. in London. In Hamilton, Bermuda, it's 12:30 p.m. and in Mexico City, it's 10:30. If you need to reach us during the broadcast, please phone in toll-free at 1-866-67-CATEX. Overseas, our AOL instant mail address is CATEX-TV. We'll go right to our main news. The main news, let's bring this chart up. Hopefully we won't be seeing too much more of this, but I'm sure we will. Here we go. Off on the right, this is the first tropical disturbance of the year. A broad area of low pressure brewing in the central Atlantic and has a 60% chance of turning into something worth worrying about over the next 2 days. National Hurricane Center is saying it's a disturbance. There's nothing more to it than that. We get a lot of these throughout the hurricane season. At 2 a.m. this morning, the system was about 1,025 miles west-southwest of the Cape Verde Islands off the West African coast. We'll keep our eyes on it. Well, British Petroleum, the oil spill, etc., etc. The President of the United States is down there again today. He's going to give an address to the nation tomorrow night from the Oval Office. BP said this morning that the cost so far in response to the spill has been $1.6 billion to them. More than 51,000 claims have been submitted so far. So far, BP has made more than 26,000 payments to claimants, totaling more than $62 million. BP said it's too early, though, to quantify other potential costs and liabilities. One analyst Friday estimated that the ultimate figure would be between $3 billion and $6 billion. They also gave some figures this morning. They said that they've collected about 7,720 barrels of oil in the first 12 hours of Sunday and 15,000 barrels of oil on Saturday. So the total volume of oil they've collected through the new cap they've got on it is 127,000 barrels of oil. They also had collected 22,000 barrels of oil from a previous riser insertion tube. They picked up 475,000 barrels of oil as a result of skimming off the surface and cleanup. That's 625,000 barrels of oil that they picked up so far. Estimates as to how much oil has spilled range up to 10 million barrels of oil. So they really have not made a dent in it. As we're speaking today, at BP in London, there's a board meeting going on. They're going to determine whether the company is going to pay its full second quarter dividend. They've been subject to immense political pressure from the president as well as other people in the Congress, for example. The dividend is expected to be 56 cents a share. BP says that it has the financial strength to pay all the cleanup costs and the dividend. They could, however, also face civil penalties of $1,100 a barrel of oil spilled, which would go up to $4,300 a barrel if criminal negligence were proven. Tomorrow, Tony Hayward is going to be meeting with the president. Over the weekend, British Prime Minister Cameron contacted President Obama and asked him if the rhetoric could be toned down somewhat. So we'll see what happens. It's going to be a very interesting next few days. If BP decides to go ahead and give the dividend, the president's going to be between a rock and a hard place tomorrow night on television. There was seismic activity over the weekend. Yesterday, a strong quake with a magnitude of 6.4 hit off Japan's Honshu Island. There was no immediate tsunami warning. You see it was pretty close here. It was about 60 miles from the prefecture of Fukushima, north of Tokyo. Also, in the Andaman Islands, there was a big quake, a 7.5 magnitude quake near India's Nicobar and Andaman Islands early yesterday, triggered panic on the archipelago and an initial tsunami warning that was quickly withdrawn. The quake was felt about 600 miles away in India, though. In Kyrgyzstan, there's a tragedy developing. About 100,000 minority Uzbeks are at the border of Uzbekistan trying to get in. They're fleeing mobs of Kyrgyz who have been involved in the violence to hit Kyrgyzstan, the worst in decades. It's left entire blocks of the major city of Osh burned to the ground. The city is smoldered now for the fourth day in a row. The official death toll is at least 117 killed. This is in clashes that began on Thursday. Kyrgyzstan's interim government, which took over after the former president was ousted by a mass revolt back in the spring, has been unable to stop the violence and accused the former president's family of instigating it to stop a vote expected for the end of this month. Uzbeks backed the interim government, while many Kriegs supported the toppled president. The stock market in New York now is up about 98 points. We'll go to a word from our sponsors.
Every day, the world wakes up and goes to work, pursuing the unique opportunities that lead the global economy forward. The complexity and close connectivity of today's global marketplace is a true modern miracle that can create unparalleled success. But it takes confidence, passion, innovation, and understanding.
Enabling opportunity.
Protecting capital.
Engineering innovation.
Investing in your future.
Ensuring continuity.
Finding the right balance.
It takes Aon.
Our friend David Brown, the CEO and co-founder of Flagstone Re, is in the news this morning. He is dismissing the theory that reinsurers must be at least $3 billion in size or face extinction. He said that, I disagree with the notion that you need $3 billion to be successful. I did the very first spreadsheet for this company. We hired our first 2 underwriters, sat down with them, went through the business they thought they could write over a 3-year period, and then made a calculation of that. I then back calculated how much capital we would need to support that business and see growth for 3 years. And that number came out at $500 million. So we went out to raise $500 million and ended up getting $715 million. But at that time, people said you need $1 billion to be a player in this market. He goes on to say, well, here we are. We have a 50% compound growth rate. We've won awards for our service. We're highly regarded. And we started with only $715 million. So I think we've disproved that theory. He also believes the notion that big is best has been brought into doubt during the recent financial crisis. No kidding. We have profited greatly, he said, from the fact that people want to syndicate risk. They prefer to have their risk with more carriers, not fewer. So as people merge and consolidate, they actually net lose business. He also questioned whether the client wants the big dominant players. He went on to say Moody's came out a few years back that the small reinsurers will have an issue against the big ones. We argued with the analysts. We said that it's not our own experience. We said that that's not our own experience. We showed them the growth we were seeing and the clients we were getting in, and finally the analysts went out and did a survey. I think Mr. Brown is dead on right there. Some news from England. Resolution is in talks to buy the annuity protection group and group pension business of AXA UK for about 80% of their £3.5 billion book value. It would be about £2.8 billion. This is according to the FT. AXA will retain ownership of its UK wealth management business as general insurance and health units. In a statement, AXA said, this potential transaction does not call into question in any